All right, I'm going to do a video on how to restore a website using Backup Buddy. Backup Buddy is a plugin that I use all the time to backup sites so that if we need to restore a site, we're able to restore it from zip file. And I like it because it rewrites all of the paths. So if you're moving it from one site to another, all of the paths to the images and the pages and everything all get rewritten. And it's a pretty straightforward procedure. The plugin is by a company called ithemes, and I have a developer's license. So if I've created a site for you, then typically this Backup Buddy is installed in it. But you're able to actually take this and give it to another developer or whoever and restore the site somewhere else using what you have accessible to you within your WordPress. So I want to go through that with you. It's a little technical, but at the same time, if you have a developer going to restore the site for you, then you'll be able to just send them this video and it should be quite understandable. So I have another video on doing backups with Backup Buddy, and that is on my website under WordPress Help, under Maintenance. So this is just simply the steps to restore a site. So Backup Buddy creates a full backup file, and that's the one you want to use to, let's say you're moving this site. So I've taken a version of a site and I'm going to restore it to another domain, and we're going to walk through that steps. So basically what you're looking for is you want this backup file. It's important never to rename that backup file because that backup file has a specific name and it won't work if the name has been changed. And what you want to do is download that zip file. The other thing you want to do is you want to hit this restore and migrate, and you want to generate a import PHP file. So when you hit that restore and migrate, you want to download this and you want to put a password in. So I have a default password set on all of these, but since you don't know that password and I don't necessarily want to give you that password, you can create your own password to generate that import PHP. So now you've got two files. I'm going to show you, and you FTP them up to the area that you want to restore this site. So you can see that I'm going to restore this site in the root of Indian Wells CC Online. So I've got an empty folder. Like you can always do this in a subfolder, but I want this site to show up in the root. So got my backup file in there, all named the same way it was named, and I've got this import PHP file. So that's step one. Step two is you want to go to the cPanel of that domain, so Indian Wells CC Online, and I'm going to create myself a user and a database because that's what we're going to need as we move forward. So we're just going to create a database, and we're going to take note of it. And we're going to create a user. And a password. And again, I want to make sure I take note of all of these things. And then I want to give the user full permissions to that database. So add the user to a database. And I want to give them all privileges. All right, so now I'm set up. So I've got my two files here ready, and I've got my database and my user that I want to use. So then I'm going to go to Indian Wells CC Online, import buddy. And then I'm going to use my password that I created that import buddy with. So I put that password in, and then basically walks me through the steps. So here's the backup file in here. That's the one I want to use. I do have issues with restoring this backup with GoDaddy accounts. And so what I typically do is I upload that backup file into into the area, and I use the file manager with GoDaddy to actually extract the backup file. It seems to run into like just sort of maximum execute times and stuff like that. And I always go into that back end of GoDaddy and increase those, but I have a consistent problem with GoDaddy. So what I do is manually extract it. And so if I happen to manually extract it, then I would just skip unzip here, and then it wouldn't go through the process of unzipping it. So that's a little bit of a workaround on that. But because this is a small file and because we're on a different server, basically I just restore the backup. So now Backup Buddy walks through the process of extracting those files, and now it'll ask me for that database and user information as the next step. So as soon as it's done that. With the smaller site, it doesn't necessarily take really long to do. And as we're waiting for this, I also want to mention that typically when sites are well over a gig, when you extract them, what I do is I actually, you can see in the Backup Buddy settings, you can actually eliminate folders from the backup. And so typically what I will do to make sure that the backup restores properly is I will eliminate some of the folders that are in content uploads. Now this site doesn't happen to have a lot of uploads because it's a brand new site, but typically what I might do is I might exclude a bunch of these folders. So maybe everything except for this new 2019. I'll make the backup will be much smaller, and then I'll go through the process of manually uploading all of those folders that have been missed. So when you do go that route, you always want to make sure you have those folders stored externally, so not necessarily on the server, just to make sure if you ever need to move a site, it's got tons of files that are not included in the backup, then you can manually create this uploads or WP content folder, uploads folder, install all of those files and subdirectories, so that when the site extracts, those files and folders are there. So that's just sort of a trick that I've come across when you have a much bigger site, anything probably over 1.5 gigs. It does work, but there's a lot of server memory that has to go along with it. So oftentimes there's a bit of a glitch. Anyway, so back to this step. So most database servers, this is localhost. On some though, this is not localhost, it's something else. You want to make sure that you understand on the server that you're trying to extract to what that database server is. And then you just want to put the database name in, database user in, device password for the user, and then your suffix for your database. Out of the box, WordPress has a suffix of WP underscore, and it's known that it's not really good to use that kind of common one. So you just want to create another one. It's typically 2 letters and an underscore. So then we go for the next step. And then this is where it rewrites the path. So that's the really handy part of this, this plugin. There is something to note about the rewriting. What I've discovered is the Revolution slider, if you use that as one of your plugins, it'll rewrite the path to the main slide background, but if you have a bunch of layers, it won't rewrite the path to those layers. So it's a bit of a pain in the butt, but you have to kind of go in back into your Revolution slider and redo those paths. But that's the only thing that I've discovered. Then you can check your site just to see if everything looks okay. And if everything does look okay, which probably is fine, then we can do this cleanup, which is finish the cleanup. If the site didn't look okay, you could not delete that zipped archive and try it again. Sometimes it may take another trial. What I also say too is you want to keep multiple backups of different, different times that you backed up, just because one may have a bit of a glitch in it and you don't want to just depend on one backup. So you might do backups, and then if you did have a glitch, you could try the week before or something, some other backup that you've done. And so that's essentially how we use this backup buddy to restore or to move a site or restore a site from a backup.